England's most prominent churchman of the 1600s was not a bishop, a royal chaplain, or some influential London minister. Rather, it was a parish priest of the small Worcestershire town of Kidderminster. His name was Richard Baxter. Richard Baxter was born in Shropshire in 1615. Due to his father's extensive gambling debts, he was forced to live with his grandparents for the first 10 years of his life. At the age of 10, when his father was converted through the plain reading of Scripture, Richard was able to return to live with his father in what would become a happy Christian home. His father's conversion would later influence him to devote much of his time and energy in the promotion of home Bible study in his parish. In 1641, Baxter was ordained as a curate in Kidderminster. He wrote in his diary that the town was made up almost entirely of crude and corrupt handloom workers. He immediately gave himself to fiery, plain gospel preaching. He was once asked how he preached with such zeal and power. His timeless response was this: "I preached as a dying man to dying men." Though his preaching led to many conversions, he was involved in an even more fruitful ministry, that of home visitation. Baxter would devote 2 full days a week to visiting homes in his parish. He would, as a rule, spend at least an hour in each home, and he resolved to never leave a home until he had inquired about the souls of every man, woman, and child living there. The home visits bore much fruit. The congregation kept overflowing its meeting place, even after the church installed 5 galleries to try to contain the crowds. The town of Kidderminster was transformed. On the Lord's Day, he wrote, "You might hear 100 families singing psalms and repeating sermons as you walked and passed through the streets." Richard Baxter was ejected from his church during the Great Ejection of 1662 and lived the rest of his life as a nonconformist. He never again had a congregation of his own, but rather served as an itinerant preacher wherever he could. He was continually hounded and persecuted by magistrates and was imprisoned at least 3 times for preaching. His books were taken from him, and once even his own sickbed was confiscated. After the Toleration Act was passed in 1689, Richard retired to London and spent most of his time writing. His writing has been credited with transforming the way in which English ministers preached and cared for their communities. He always remained humble about his writings, saying, "I was but a pen in God's hand, and what praise is due to a pen." His last written work before his death in 1691 said this: "The gospel dieth not when I die. The church dieth not. The praises of God dieth not. The world dieth not. And perhaps it shall grow better. And perhaps some fruit shall rise up from that seed that I have sown after I am dead." Like Abel in the Bible and countless others through the ages, we can truly say about Richard Baxter, "He being dead, yet speaketh."